In our everyday use of the computer system, we are familiar with the use of the graphical user interface, which is used to interact with the computer, made up of several icons, windows, or graphics. So you click on one and it does one thing or the other, and it makes interaction with the computer easy for the user. The GUI is very useful and helpful in performing several tasks, but they are not good enough for all tasks. And so there's need to learn how to use the Linux command line so as to make life easy when working with the Linux operating system. So in addition to the graphical user interface, we have the command line interface such as the shell. The command line interface also lets the user interact with the computer when working with the Linux operating system. We would want to use this example to understand how to navigate in the shell, in the Linux shell. This is an example that we want to use as our case study. All we want to do is inside our root folder, we want to create two folders, music and movies. So inside our music folder, we navigate into our music folder, then we create three files: classical.txt, jazz.txt, blues.txt. Then inside our after we create these three files inside our music folder, we put the content that we want inside our classical.txt file should be GF handle. The content we want inside our jazz.txt file should be Louis Armstrong. Then the blues.txt file should have no content. Then we navigate back to our movies folder. We create this folder. Then inside the folder, we'll create three files: Hollywood, Bollywood, and Nollywood. Then the content we want inside Bollywood should be Gajini, while Hollywood and Nollywood should have no content. So this is what we want to take as our case study or as an example. And I'm sure by the end of this example, you understand how to navigate in the shell. The method you'll be using to solve this problem is to first of all create the music folder, then continue creating the music files and put the content, after which we will now go back to the movies, create movies, then create the files we want inside the movies folder and put the content we want inside Bollywood. So we are not going to create them horizontally this way. We'll first of all go down, create everything under music, then go back and create everything under movies. So we quickly move to our shell. In our shell, when you open your shell, you are automatically, or at first, you are inside your root folder. And look at it, we are inside our root folder. So inside our root folder, we list the content. There's a command we use to list the content inside our folders or file. The command is ls. So once you type ls and press enter, it lists all the folders or files that are inside your root folder. So these are the folders and files that are inside our root folder by default. But remember, we want to create the music folder. So in creating the music folder, we'll just go back to our um, shell. Inside our shell, the way we create the music folder is to use the command mkdir. So that is the short form for make directory. We want to make a directory or want to make a folder, but it's make directory. You keep space and you type the name of directory, that's music, and you press enter. So now we've created a directory called music. I want to check if this music folder or music directory was really created. So we are still inside the root folder. I want to see if this music folder has been created inside the root folder. And to do that, we type ls, which is list the content in the folder or in the file. Press enter. You can see that the folder music has been created inside the root folder. So we have done this first stage already. This first stage of creating the music folder inside our roots folder. So the next thing we need to do now is to create these three files: classical.txt, jazz.txt, and blues.txt. We want to create these three files inside the music folder. So before we do that, we have to first of all go back to our shell. Then we navigate into the music folder. We have to enter into the music folder, and to do that, we use a command known as cd. Cd is used to change directory. So we want to change our directory from this root to music, and so we type music. So once you do that, you can see that you're already inside the music folder. We're already inside the music folder. You can see it at this point. We're in the music folder. And to be double sure, to be sure that you are really inside the music folder, you can use another command. We call it pwd. Now pwd means print working directory. What is the directory that we are currently inside at the moment? When you press enter, you can see it prints music. So it's just to confirm that we are inside the music folder. Now that we're inside the music folder, the next thing we need to do is to create the three files we talked about: classical.txt, jazz, and blues. The way to create files is to create an empty file is to use the command touch, touch. So you use touch space, then you type the name of the file. So now we have classical.txt. So classical.txt, when you press enter, that file is created inside this folder. To be sure that this file has been created, we list the content of music folder, and we use the command ls again. When you press enter, you can see that we already have classical.txt inside the music folder. So we want to create the other two files, that's jazz.txt and blues.txt. To do that, we use touch, touch again, and we type jazz.txt. But the good thing is that we can create blues.txt and jazz.txt at the same time. All you need to do is just keep another space and type blues.txt. So you can see we've created, once you press enter, you see that we'll create these two files at the same time, jazz.txt and blues.txt. To confirm that these two files have been created, we want to check the content of this folder music, and we use the same command we used before, ls, to list the content of the folder. And you can see that we already have blues.txt created, classical.txt created, and jazz.txt created. So going back to our blueprint, you can see that our goal originally um was to create three folders and three files rather inside the music folder. But we want the content of the classical file to be classical GF Handel, and the content of the jazz file to be Louis Armstrong. So that's the next thing we'll be doing now, to put the content. At the moment, they both have nothing inside, they are both empty. So we go back to our shell. We want to put inside the classical.txt, we want to type in GF Handel. How do you do that? We use a command known as echo, echo. We leave space, then we use a quote, either double quote or single quote, both works fine. Then inside the quote we type in GF Handel, then you close the quotes. Single, if you are using single, you use single quote. If you are using double, you use double quote. You keep space and you press this greater than. Greater than is to push. We're trying to push GF Handel inside. You clip space, then you type classical.txt. You must make sure that you are using the right spelling with the right cases, because the shell is case sensitive. So your classical.txt, as you've been spelling it all the while, you must spell it the same way. And once you press enter, we have already putting GF Handel inside classical.txt. How do you confirm that? We have a command known as cat. We want to see inside the classical.txt, the content inside it. So use cat, that's cat. Then we type in the name of the file we want to check what is inside, we want to investigate, and that's classical.txt. So once you press your enter, you see it's going to print GF Handel, telling us that inside classical.txt the content is GF Handel. So that tells us that we've automatically um, put GF Handel inside classical.txt. But remember, we also want to put Louis Armstrong inside jazz.txt. So all we need to do is just to follow the same approach to put Louis Armstrong inside jazz.txt. And so we type in echo. Now we use single quote or double quote as the case may be, whichever works fine. Louis Armstrong is a popular jazz trumpeter and composer. So we have Armstrong, one of the legends of jazz music, and so we use the greater than sign to push it into jazz. Now your jazz is in lowercase, so you have to be sure of what you are doing. Use jazz.txt and we press enter. Now pressing enter, we are sure now that Louis Armstrong has been pushed into jazz.txt. To confirm that, you just use the same command cat, that's cat, and you type jazz.txt and good. Once you do that, oh, we're supposed to have oh, sorry, I made a mistake here. I should have used jazz. It should be double Z, double Z, not double S. So we have to correct that. We have to retype all this again. So we have echo and inside echo. So you have to be very careful whenever you're typing, whenever you're putting this Louis Armstrong. So now we have to be careful and we type in the correct correct thing. Okay, now to check if this has been put inside, we use scat and we put jazz.txt. So we ought to get Louis Armstrong as our content, and you can see Louis Armstrong is the content inside jazz.txt. So at this moment, I think we've succeeded in finishing or the first aspect. So we've already gone from our root folder, we've created a folder known as music, we've created three files, and inside classical.txt we have gf handle, and inside jazz.txt we have Louis Armstrong. Now I want to go back to this point, to the root folder, and create movies. After we create movies, then we create the folder movies, then we create three files: Hollywood, Bollywood, and Gollywood. Then after we create these three files, we allow the content of Bollywood to be Gajini. So that's the next thing we want to do now. So we go back to our shell. Inside our shell, we are already getting towards to the end of the old stuff. So to clear all this so that we have more space to type, we just put in the command clear, 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 and you press enter. You see, we are going to have a fresh um, page for us to type. Now, while inside the music folder, to be sure of the folder we're inside, you use print working directory as pwd, and you can see we're inside the music folder, and we don't want to be in the music folder. I want to come out of the music folder to our root folder so that we can recreate the movies and other things that fall under the movies. So what do? The easiest way to go back, we can do two things. We can change directory back to root, but I think I've shown you this before. So another thing we can do is just to press cd and press double dot. This takes us a step backwards to the previous folder, which is the root folder. You can see we're out of music, we're no more in music, we're now in the root folder. And if you want to be sure if you are in the root folder, you can print working directory pwd, and you can see it's in the root folder. Just one slash tells you are in the root folder. So now we're on the right track. The next thing we want to do is to create the folder movies. So we do make directory, and we have movies. Now we want to be sure that this folder movies have been created, and what do? We just list the content of our root folder, and you can see we have movies created, we have movies, and we still have our music here. We have movies created. Now we want to navigate into our movies, so you use change directory and you type it. You must make sure you type it the correct thing with the right case. So movies, we change directory, and now we are in the directory movies. To be double sure that you are inside movies, you print working directory pwd, and you can see it prints movies. So it tells us we are now inside the movies folder. Now, what is the next thing we ought to do? Now that we're inside the movies folder, we want to create these three files: Hollywood, Bollywood, and Nollywood. So in doing that, the simple thing we just need to do is to go back to our shell. When to create folder, I've told us to create empty files. Rather, to create empty files, you use the command touch. So we have Hollywood space Bollywood. So now we want to create three files at a go with just one command space. Then you have Nollywood. So once you press enter, you succeeded in creating those three files inside the movies folder. So to be sure those files were created, you list the content. So that's ls. You can see we already have Bollywood, Hollywood, and Nollywood arranged alphabetically. Yeah. So we have Bollywood, Hollywood, and Nollywood created. Now the example we're trying to solve tells us that inside um, inside the folder, inside the file Bollywood, we want to put the content Gajini. So all we need to do now is to go back to our shell, and inside the folder, inside the file Bollywood, we put the content Gajini. How do you do that? Use echo, and you put in your quote Gajini. Gajini is one old, not really old, but it's kind of old Indian movie. Gajini, and you close your quotes, then space, you put your greater than symbol that you want to push Gajini inside Bollywood. And once you do that, you press enter and you assure your Gajini. To be double sure that Gajini is already inside Bollywood, you use cat Bollywood, and you press enter and you see Gajini there. So at this point, we have succeeded in um, solving this problem. Another way to see the content, to be sure Gajin is there, instead of using cat, you can use less. I think less is another command. Let me try that. Less, put Bollywood, and when you press enter, you can see Gajini is inside Bollywood. So we clear the screen just to have better view clear. So we're done with that example. Now there's one thing we want to do. Let us try to do something we didn't discuss before. We want to copy the content. That's this Louis Armstrong. We want to copy it into blues.txt. So we want this Louis Armstrong to also be in blues.txt. One of the easiest ways to do that is to use a command mv. That's just move mv. So let me do that. So all I need to do is just to um sorry, there's a command cp, rather cp, that's copy. Move is to rename or to move, while mv is to rename or to move, while cp is to, okay, let me first of all go back to my shell. So um in my shell, before we even move, let's first of all go back to our root position and get into our music folder. So we want to change directory. We want to go back into our root position and move into our music folder. So we change directory into our music now, because that's where we will be dealing with jazz and co. So we're inside our music folder. To be double sure, you use pwd to print working directory, and you see we're inside the music folder. Now inside our music folder, let's check the content of blues. So put cat and we type blues.txt, and we can see that blues.txt doesn't have anything in it at the moment. So it doesn't return anything. So what do we want to do? We want to copy. Cp is the command for copy. We want to copy the content of jazz.txt. The content of jazz.txt, you want to copy it inside blues.txt. And so this is the way to do the copy cp jazz.txt, the content of jazz.txt, you want to copy it to blues.txt, and we press enter. So to be sure that the content was well copied, we just type cat and we put blues.txt, and now it should print Louis Armstrong, which was the content of jazz.txt. Let's see if Louis Armstrong is still inside in jazz, is still inside jazz.txt, and we press enter. You can see Louis Armstrong is still inside jazz.txt. There are some other things we can do. We can move. We can move. To move, you use the command mv to move. I'm going to give a list of some other commands and their functions. So I think with this with this case study, with this example that we just did now, you've been able to understand how to navigate from one folder or from one file, create, copy, using the Linux shell. So we've done all this successfully. So thank you. If you have any question, you can just put it in the comment section below. Click on the subscribe button, share with your friends, and click on the like button. Thank you.